Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Viva Coach Experience. I'm the Viva Coach, your life coach for women and business coach for all. I'm super, super excited because November has been an amazing, amazing month so far already. The topic of the month here at the Viva Coach Experience this month is all things entrepreneurship. And I know so many of you are already involved in being an entrepreneur or supporting another entrepreneur in this space. So actually, today's conversation is going to be very relevant to all of you in one or another way. The panel today is amazing, and I'm super, super excited for having my panel here today. Now, look, when it comes to entrepreneurship, whether in the virtual world or of the metaverse or the real world, entrepreneurship is more than building a business. It's a mindset. It's a journey of resilience, creativity, and growth. And it's one that each of you here tonight can embrace in your own way as we go through these conversations today as well. So look, welcome to the world. If this is your first time here tonight, then please do like and save the world. We are recording today's talk so that we can have this on our YouTube channel, where hopefully we can reach out to more of the audience and help them take the insights and the expertise away from our panel today. We're also live on Instagram right now as well. So really excited to reach out to our audience on IG. Welcome, welcome everyone. And today's panel, hello, and thank you for being on Viva Talk panel. I'm so excited. I know when I reached out to you all, I was so super excited to have this night tonight, and it's here. It's finally here. So I'm super, super looking forward to it. Let's just start with a bit of introductions, if that's okay. In all honesty, each one of you, I'm sure, with the audience and others who are listening and watching us online already are very familiar with a lot of the work that you do. But let's just do a brief introduction, if that's okay. MetaTech, can I start with you? Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself to my audience and listeners today, who you are, what you do, and a little bit about you being an entrepreneur as well?
Okay. I'm the tech snob of MetaTechVR. I'm the founding member, but there's also other members of our organization. One of them is actually in the audience right now, JayVanityUptonVR. And Tazzy. Tazzy will be joining us very soon as well. And Joe, we build in the metaverse. We've been building for years. And we also hold virtual events in the metaverse. We also consult with VR, AR, XR projects, not only in the metaverse, but outside of the metaverse. And we're basically bridging that gap, with our company, with, doing business within the metaverse and outside of the metaverse. So we've expanded just from localizing all of our work here. We build environments, vehicles, basically anything that's associated with what's going on. We try to stay on top of it. We're also heavily into AR and AI at this point, and we're integrating some of that into our work.
Fabulous, fabulous. And I've seen firsthand some of the work that you're doing, MetaTech, and it's absolutely fantastic. The way you're sort of, growing the team and the expertise that you're bringing back into the metaverse and taking it back out to the real world and kind of connecting those dots. I think that's absolutely fabulous. And I think that is exactly where we are right now with this technology. We need to ensure that we're connecting those dots, bringing in the real world into this space and taking experiences and almost case studies back out to the real world as well, so that we can kind of, be able to build that bridge as well. Thank you so much. And I'm so excited you're here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Vanity, JayVanity, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, everybody. My name is JayVanityUpton, the only Upton in the metaverse. And kind of what I do is I'm a certified product development in fashion in AR and VR. I was one of the first people in Horizon a few years back to hold the first ever Metaverse Horizon Fashion Week. And then from there, I just help consult with fashion brands in developing new concepts and rebranding for stuff like that. And I'm a proud member of the DeVeo team, which is owned by Matt Lowe.
Woohoo! Thank you so much for being on the panel tonight. Again, I'm so looking forward to sort of, hearing more about your experience doing the first in the metaverse in this space. I think it's always exciting, and, how that's grown, how that's shifted, how new entrepreneurs are bringing new thinking, how you're shifting your thinking. All of that's going to become, a great conversation as we move forward with the talk. So thank you for being part of tonight's talk.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. My absolute pleasure. JoyReign. It finally get to do this. Me and Joy talked about this a
know.
very long time ago, and I'm so excited to have you on the panel. I love everything that you're doing. Your success is just amazing, and I'm so glad we're finally doing this. Please do tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hello everyone. I am JoyReign. I'm CEO of Onyx Leaf Media. I am an XR evangelist that spreads the good word of everything that's happening in the metaverse and with all this great technology. I am one half of the Getting Things Done YouTube channel and Get Them to the Metaverse podcast, where we help the extraordinary metaverse become an everyday part of life. And I'm known around here in Horizon Worlds for Joy in the Morning, my talk show that is all about helping people become more joyful, optimistic, and yearning for positivity. I can go on and on, but I'll leave it right there.
And you absolutely practice what you preach, Joy. So thank you so much for being here tonight. And look,
Thank
everyone, this is going to be an amazing night. Tonight, we will explore stories, strategies that every aspiring entrepreneur can use, whether they're launching a business here in the metaverse or scaling one outside of it. With insights from my experienced guests, we will discuss navigating challenges, the importance of innovation, and how can we leverage both real and virtual worlds for our success. So let the talk begin. Let's go. Let's have a bit of a sort of almost like a warm-up question. Look, entrepreneurship often begins with a spark. Being an entrepreneur myself, a serial entrepreneur over years, I've dabbled into a number of different type of businesses and have a portfolio of business today as well, both in the real world and in here. So I know what that spark looks like, what that spark feels like. But I'll be really interested in understanding what motivated each of you to start your journey and how has that initial vision then evolved along the way as well. Joy, can I start with you?
Yeah. So how did I get started in here?
Yeah, absolutely. So what was that spark and how did you start your journey?
Well, when I started in here, I did not have business in mind at all. I came in here on a whim, basically. Getting introduced to this space. Basically, Jay Dunn, my husband, he brought the headset over to me, to my house, and we tried it out. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get this technology. This is like the MetaQuest 2 back in 2021. And so I got exposed to this technology, came in here and saw the first talk show, which was Dame's Live. Shout out to Dame. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is real people all around here from around the world that we could connect with. And it was like around COVID. So it's like, you want to have somebody to talk to. And so it was so cool being able to, talk to people from all over the world. And then I had this notion of, building joy in the morning, of seeing the need that people are hurting and that people needed a place to come and see that there were people talking about things that they were going through. And so that's what I created Joy in the Morning. And from then on, that's when the business sense kicked in, from seeing a need. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fabulous. That's amazing to be able to come in quite quickly. Sort of, that's an entrepreneur's mindset, really. Coming in not with that sort of, goal or as such in mind, but actually, you quite quickly saw an opportunity to how you can help the community, people around you, and build something from there. I think that's absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Joy. Vanity, what about yourself? What was your spark and what motivated you to start your journey?
So like, again, it was around COVID and stuff like that. I came in here thinking this was a video game. When I first went into build mode, I was like, oh, this kind of reminds me of Minecraft. And I was like, oh, this is not like Minecraft at all. So my first world that I was really in was one of, I think, Danica's first clubs and stuff like that. And then the more that I started seeing different entities and different networking opportunities, that was kind of like within my first month, I was realizing like, oh, people are actually starting to do business in here. And I was like, maybe I should kind of find a mentor. So I kind of like dabbled and started networking a little bit more and kind of found my revenue from what I was already kind of doing in IRL, which was also fashion. But then I kind of wanted to have my own like furniture line that I couldn't do physically.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I kind of started. And then from there, I just found all these amazing people like yourself, Joy, now the snob, like Tony and Matt. So from there, it really took the professionalism to a next level. And I incorporated that into my real life. And that's how my personality changed a little bit of being more not serious, but understanding that every opportunity can present itself to you and you not take it for granted.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And look, with everything that both of you so far have said, you've kind of already take so many of those entrepreneur traits that you would expect in an entrepreneur, and so really, I think that was second nature to you, clearly, even when you consciously probably didn't even think about it. So when you tell the story, it becomes so much more clear, doesn't it? And that's absolutely amazing. MetaTech, what about you? And I know your business has grown quite quickly. It's the whole 3 S's that I talk about: the speed, the scale. And
Right.
that is something that's kind of right at the center of what you're doing. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, basically, I've always been into technology from the time that I was very young. Basically, started out with some of the earlier computers, stuff like that. It wasn't nothing professionally at that time, but like video games and stuff. And let's fast forward to where we are right now. I started getting more involved in VR. Well, the very first time I got exposed to VR was a very long time ago. It was a movie I saw called The Lawnmower Man, where it talked about VR and virtual environments. So that sparked my interest, and I started, considering some of these things and where they would go. So I just started reading more about it until we roll over more towards right before the pandemic. I started getting more involved in the VR glasses and stuff like that. And I not only do this, I also buy and sell real estate. And at that time, when the pandemic had started, people were staying home at that point. They had shut down most industries. So, I had more time to actually pursue some of these other things, that I enjoy, technologically. So I found another platform that was called Altspace. Many of us, or some of us that are here, are from that platform. Basically, they're still friends. We're all still friends. It was a very social platform, and it was amazing because I feel like at that time it was the next iteration of everything that had come behind me. All the consoles, all the computers, and I was like, this is amazing. And I said, well, if I'm going to spend this much time in here, I better learn more about what it's about. And I actually saw people socializing and actually creating some revenue. It wasn't a whole lot. But as I started looking at it more, I started understanding that this would probably be the next iteration of the internet at this point. And it's going to be. We're going into Web3. If you're not involved in if you're not involved in Web3, you should probably consider that, especially if you have a business, because this is where it's going. Web2 is going to be a dinosaur very soon. And wouldn't you rather interact with your products almost in a physical way than actually look at them two-dimensionally? And even if we don't like it, it's going to happen anyway. So it's very advisable to go that way. But, to progress on, we actually started building in Altspace. We were making a lot of cars at the time, and we created a little business in there, and people became really popular. People started buying them. And then we met, we were friends with Tony. We got together towards more the end of that, after we had already established that we were builders.
Right.
And Tony and I sat down, and Tony said, let's go out with a bang. And so Tony and we had a discussion about having a huge event, because we had put some events on, but we were like, look, I believed, as far as I know, that the event that we put on in Jedi, I think you might have timed out, Jedi actually did awesome coordinating all those DJs. I believe it was the biggest event that Altspace had seen.
Wow.
It was like 3,000 people, and we said, hey.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, over 2 days. Yeah, over 2 days. We had 1,500 on
That's
2 days. We
amazing.
had 10 DJs, 5 one day, 5 another day. One of your celebrity DJs that's up in here, Epps, DJ Epps, he closed us out. It was a great thing. And that showed me more the potential of what we can do here through entertainment.
Absolutely.
And this is going to end up being almost like the real world soon. And so that being said, we said, well, how can we also take this outside of the metaverse? How can we start, go into some companies
Mm-hmm.
and say, hey, this is, this is where it's at. Because to be honest with
Mm-hmm.
you, a lot of companies don't understand the power of this yet. But if you
Yeah.
show it to them, they're willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
And, that we've had a lot of success with that so
Mm-hmm.
far. We knew some people
That's
who are
awesome.
also in the industry.
Yeah.
We're currently working with major fashion industry.
Mm-hmm.
We have opportunities to be a part of upcoming Fashion Week here in New York, and some of that will be metaverse
Fabulous.
based as well as with AR, XR,
Yeah.
VR elements.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that with the establishment of a lot of these wearable devices, you're going to see this
Mm-hmm.
becoming more commonplace. And if
Mm-hmm.
anybody's interested in being involved in this stuff, this is the time to do it, because even now you're not too late.
Yeah.
So and to where we are right now, we couldn't be happier. Joe, Jedi, myself, where we are right now, because we basically, this actually, what we learned as more like a hobby and
Mm-hmm.
just having fun, it's
Mm-hmm.
turned into a major source of revenue,
Mm-hmm.
where we can actually do something like the spark that you speak of
Yeah.
is still there.
Mm-hmm.
We do,
Mm-hmm.
the
Good, good.
spark is
And
what
it
keeps us
sounds like
going.
it's being fueled by all
It
sorts
is.
of stuff,
It
different
is. It's been
focuses
fueled.
that you're bringing in. Yeah. I
Correct.
love
And
that.
we plan on staying in it, as long as we like. I say, as long as it's not the money, it's as long as I like it.
Yeah.
As long as I
Yeah.
enjoy doing it,
Mm-hmm.
because the reason why I really love doing it so much is because in alt space, you'd create things and you'd
Mm-hmm.
have to wait a little while for it to even show up in the world to even see what your finished product looked like. You see what it looks
Okay,
like in
got you.
Blender or
Yeah, yeah.
Unity.
Mm-hmm.
But, the joy that it gave some people that they liked, that was
Mm-hmm.
the spark that, continued for us to
Yeah.
putting out quality things for people.
That's amazing. I mean, each one of you sort of referred back to COVID times and how world changed and shifted and allowed us to have that bit more time, right? Because I think everything was moving so fast, and we almost were just running and catching up, and all of a sudden, sort of, COVID happened, the lockdowns happened, and we had more time at home or with our loved ones, with our family and friends, etc., in a very different way, in a very different setting. But what that did do was it actually, for innovation and creativity to be fueled, to really kind of take that next step requires a bit of boredom. And that's just a proven scientific fact, right? So, those who actually do a lot of, cloud thinking, etc., they're the ones that actually come up with the most creative ideas and innovation. And the fact is, it's because your brain, you're giving your brain an opportunity and a chance to be able to do that. And I think from sound of each of your stories, I think you've had that opportunity as well, where you kind of, you've come into this space not with that mindset, but actually then started exploring. But clearly, you had the, like I said before, those entrepreneurial traits, because you were thinking creatively, you were thinking innovation, you were thinking where the opportunity is, you were thinking what the pain points are, so where the problems are and how they can be resolved with what you were doing. So all of that is just absolutely fascinating. It's amazing when you speak to different entrepreneurs, their underlying principles and the way they operate and the traits that they have are so similar in so many ways, and it never sort of fails to amaze me. One of the things with being on the path of entrepreneurship is the fact that it's never smooth, right? Some parts are, others are not. And if you stick in with it, you find it even more so that it's not always going to be just the smooth ride. So can you share with me sort of a major challenge that you may have faced and how you turned it around into a learning experience instead? Vanity, can I come to you first on this one?
The challenges that I faced, there was many of them. There was personality, there was networking, and then there was the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Starting with the mindset, like I said earlier, like coming in here, I didn't expect any of this to happen to like myself, or like my panel can also speak for themselves as well. It's like
Mm-hmm.
we didn't have that clear mindset. And if they did, then kudos to them, because I didn't. So from there, when I started networking, the mindset had to change first of all.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a clear mindset and a clear road or a path, then that's not what's going to get you to your end result or your goal in your
Yeah.
career. When it comes to the personality, you have to represent yourself or whoever your building group is, because at the end of the day, it is your reputation at the end of the line. Because the
Mm-hmm.
more that you have brands coming in here or seeing what you're doing in your work, they're going to want to have someone to represent themselves and yourself. versus all that. And then that all ties in down to representing what you want to convey and how you want that to happen. Another challenge of mine was just um, due diligence and honing in on my skill sets. I went through many iterations and edits of so many different worlds and products and stuff like that to perfect my craft. So when I do showcase to people, each presentation tops each one. Like I've known Joy for a long time now, and she's been to some of my furniture galleries, and each one was bigger than the next. And I've had live performances, and that's what led up to Fashion Week, where that just topped everything that I've done for sure. It's about owning what you want and the perseverance.
Yeah. And getting that self best right. It's almost that sort of sportsman's mindset as well, because you kind of want to, when you're an entrepreneur, you want to kind of exactly what you've said there, Vanity, is the best way to grow is to be able to kind of go, how do I make this bigger and better? How do I make this bigger and better? And I think that's one way to kind of, achieve that. That's awesome. Joy, what about yourself? What's some of the biggest challenges you faced?
It was learning to trust yourself and also to be comfortable in your skin and who you are. That is your base foundation, because once you find what your lane is and what you're good at, it doesn't matter what anyone else does around you. You can stay true to yourself and stay true to your path. What I've seen a lot of people do is that they see what's working for other people and they try to veer into that lane, and it just doesn't work out for them. But because they see this is what's on the rise, that they want to do that. But what I want to encourage people is that if you stay true to yourself, if you stay true to what you believe in and what your strengths are, and you keep going, that you will be recognized, you will be seen for who you are, and don't ever doubt yourself. But that's one of the things that I had to, be comfortable in. And like, if I didn't see anybody doing what I do, that's okay, because it's just, one of me. And a lot of people get discouraged because of that. But no, I want to encourage anybody that's out there that if you're doing what you do, what you love to do, what you know that is engraved in you to do it. You're going to be successful as long as you keep going and stay true to yourself.
I absolutely
can I add on to that, Viva?
Go on. Yeah,
about going into like another path on somebody. It's okay to look at a path, but it's not okay to copy it, because everyone's principles and demeanor is different. You see what I'm saying? Because from there, if you're trying to copy and mimic, then that's going to not benefit you, and that's going to hurt you at the end of the day.
And it's not sustainable, right? It's absolutely not sustainable. I mean, that's what my pie of all framework, I mean, you will find that on the wall as you walk back towards this point. That's what my framework is all about. It's pie of all. You create your own pie. You slice it your own way. Some slices might look bigger, some might look smaller. And, I might cut it very differently. And the whole idea around that framework that I developed came from this idea, because I often had people coming up and saying sort of, Viva, what you've achieved is what I want. And I always said, that's actually probably not very true, because when you look into it, you would want your own pie and you want to slice in your own way. What you're probably looking for is perhaps that career success or some goal in your own personal life. But how you get there and what you prioritize in getting there, it's going to look very different. So yes, you may take on a blueprint from someone, but you don't necessarily, build to it, right? You kind of take on something and you learn and you build your own from there. So yeah, absolutely couldn't agree more. That's absolutely fantastic. What about you, MetaTech? What are some of the challenges you've seen? Because again, I think yours has evolved quite quickly with the way the technology's evolved as well. So what are some of the challenges you've seen?
Yeah, it's evolved pretty quickly. And sometimes it's difficult to stay on top of everything, because there's an evolution going outside of your own bubble all the time. And, you want to stay on top of, where things are going and where you think they might go, and maybe keep up with that to produce and stay current, or maybe even be a viable choice for people if they want to choose you for your services. That's something that I try to do. I try to stay ahead of the curve, or at least with it. To find out where some of these technologies are going, so that we could always be on top of it when they do come out. I work excessively, so, and that's actually one of the challenges. personally, because I do work excessively, and sometimes I expect everybody else to work excessively too. So that was a personal challenge that I have I had to curb and say, well, not everybody's doing exactly what they're supposed to do. Maybe I need to slow it down a little bit.
Setting those expectations, yeah.
Correct. And so those are two things that were challenges, but they're well managed. I still work excessively just because I love it, but
that's just how you operate. I get that, because that's me as well. Yeah, but then I've also learned to know that everyone goes on their own pace.
Correct.
So you kind of just try and meet where you can, and then work with your own paces as well. But with what you do, MetaTech, with such an evolving tech, with such an evolving service offering, how do you find the challenge around trust? Because that's one thing that, with more and more that we know about generative AI, for example, all these emerging technologies, etc., that is one component in all of this, which, all the firms, all businesses are actually having to tackle. And it's quite a challenge. How are you finding that?
For the challenges of AI, is that what you're
the challenge around trust with sort of emerging technology, and because it's evolving so quickly, people are not necessarily getting the almost that runway to build that trust and then move on to the next thing, because it's just kind of
I mean,
it's snowballing.
If we're localizing it to AI, a lot of people are. I would say that some people are not even accepting of it so much yet, and that that would indicate that there's a level of trust that people do not have. Especially when it comes, we're associated with a major motion picture industry studio. Okay. Especially when it comes to AI and the trust situation, it's replacing, they say that, people aren't going to lose jobs. That's true to a degree if you're going to learn the technology that you're going to need to know to keep the job. Because, there's a lot of platforms that AI is actually taking over right now. Especially when it comes to things like special effects, you don't need an entire crew anymore. You might need like 5 guys instead of like 20 or 30, just based on the things that you can do with AI.
The talent pool is going to look very different in the future, isn't it? Yeah. So
definitely, if we're speaking about that AI, there are trust issues, but then there's another side of that where people are saying, well, if you use it correctly, it can enhance everything that you do currently, which I also agree with. I believe that there's a healthy balance with that, where you could still use these different emerging technologies and be very successful with it. If you're serious about what you're doing, it's probably a must for you to stay at least partially involved at what is to come, because it's evolving so quickly that we don't want to be one of those people that somebody may just replace you because they know how to do something that you could have found out how to do for yourself. So I think that
it's an interesting one, because I work with a number of clients on emerging technologies, etc. myself, and one of the ways that we find you can get onto that trust pathway with your clients quickly is by also being honest. Most of us are learning as we go along as well, because new technologies are sort of cropping up and popping around at scale and speed, both. And I think having your own use cases, having sort of almost showing your own journey is a good evidence, and working that sort of trust-based relationship.
Right, and when you're presenting these emerging technologies to clients, it's best to present it in a positive light, like how it can benefit you, because that's what I find. Any technology that we present to somebody, basically, to be honest with you, it's not so much, well, that could be a level of trust, but they want to know what the bottom line is at the end of the day. What is this new technology going to do for me that's going to be beneficial? And if you can prove that, if you can prove that out to them, and they see that there's a benefit for it, and most of the time that we deal with, it's a financial benefit. They want to know how it's either going to be more efficient, how is it going to increase their revenue, basically their bottom line. That's a good way of earning trust, and not only showing it to them, but actually following through and accomplishing that goal for them.
I couldn't agree more. I think more and more. Go on, Joy. Go on.
Oh, what I was going to say is also too what I found about introducing emerging technologies to people is that it's not so much of the trust, is more so getting them over the fear of what it can do, and also acknowledging that fear and then getting them over that fear by telling them how you can get over it by, explaining to them the benefits like Tech said and everything. So I agree 100% everything that is said, but it's getting them over that hump of fear.
It is. And that fear factor comes from a lot of unknown. I think people sort of, once you start investing in learning and upskilling, a lot of that starts to, taking the side pathway as well. So I think you're absolutely right. I think to break that fear factor down, it's really important to just try and kind of, start exploring, understanding, use these tools, get to know the technology and, that type of thing. And going back to what you were saying, MetaTech as well, it's today, in today's world, it's all about value-driven revenues. So as long as you're able to demonstrate that value and impact, I think, that's the half the battle, I think, in today's world as well. Awesome. Go on,
you can have the best, you could have the best technology and it could be the most wow thing that people see. But at the end of the day, they just want to know, how's it going to benefit them?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if they're going to be paying for it. They want to make sure
it's real life use cases, right? That's what really brings it to light and makes it real. And therefore sort of, builds that trust as well. Awesome. Cool. So each one of you have talked about linking back to the real world. That's something that I am really passionate about as well, not to create a world in a metaverse, which is kind of, standalone. And then there's this real world. I think it's really important to sort of bridge those gaps. So many entrepreneurs in the metaverse are still discovering the potential of this space. How can business bridge the gap between the virtual and the physical experiences? Now, each one of you are already doing that. So maybe if you can kind of just maybe share an example of how you're doing that. Joy, can I come to you first for this one?
Yeah, I had the opportunity to partner with Thurgood Marshall College Fund, and we were able to to expose these students, 150 students over 42 different HBCUs across the country, to expose them to this technology and show them how it can benefit them. And so bridging that gap and showing them how it could be related to each one of their fields, and being able to show that, hey, there are people of color in here as well doing this, because again, when people hear about technology, they think about the digital divide and how, people of color are years and years behind, but no, that's not true. And so we're breaking down those walls and exposing these students and them to the metaverse and showing them how they can incorporate these in their specific fields. So that was one of the pleasures that we had the opportunity to do. And it was just so fulfilling to see these kids light up and see how they are excited about using this technology in their respective fields.
You're creating future creators and future leaders in this space essentially with that work. So that's amazing. That's great, because that's about that sustainability element we always talk about as well. And diversity is such a big part of this. I mean, the reality of the fact is the digital divide is only getting bigger, and it's been getting bigger very quickly because of the speed and the scale of these technologies. But at the same time, these technologies are absolutely fantastic at breaking down barriers and issues with accessibility. So, you don't necessarily have to be a first world country to be able to sort of, benefit from these technologies. If through programs like you've suggested, Joy, if there are outreach programs as such that are taking Web3 into the, development countries as well, then actually it's amazing that you can take away the whole traditional pathway of learning and careers, etc., and build something that's very different through this, and actually do that at scale and speed as well. So yeah, I love programs like that, because I think they do allow you to almost cut through the red tape most of the time that exists in the real world as well, and bring growth in a very different way to our young people, for sure. What about you, Vanity? How are you sort of connecting the two worlds? I know you've talked about your fashion. You brought what you were doing in real world into the metaverse. So you clearly had a real connection there. How's that benefiting? How's that worked? Is that something you reflect back and kind of go, that was the right thing to do?
For me, even though I wasn't in the creator program for a little bit until recently, shout out to
Mm-hmm.
Meta for that. What it's doing for me in the future and previously right now, currently, it's bringing retail. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, I think more e-commerce and I think more sustainability on prototyping and being
Got
able
you.
to see the
Mm-hmm.
physical item and bringing your clients in here to showcase and present not only fashion, but real estate and stuff like that. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of other things, another implement that I did bring in from the real world was just production value and
Mm-hmm.
showcasing that, like, oh, I don't have tens of thousands of dollars to go to Fashion Week. Let's bring it into here. So that's another revenue and avenue that I've gone into
Yeah.
of being immersed and inclusive and bringing everyone into light and coming together on that end. And I
Yeah.
do have a world that I'm going to be showcasing very shortly soon about what the future of retail and e-commerce space is going to look like within Web3 and the metaverse.
Amazing. That's fabulous. That's
I have to give Jay Vanity her flowers because Jay Vanity has made the most amazing, incredible fashion worlds. If you have not had the pleasure of going to see any of Jay Vanity's fashion worlds, runways, and it's just incredible. So I just have to give Jay Vanity her flowers right now.
Thank you, Joy.
It's
Let's
Thank
do
incredible.
that.
you.
Let's get some confetti in the air. Absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes.
Like road to entrepreneurship is a tough one. It always almost looks very glamorous from outside in, but it takes huge amount of hard work and it takes huge amount of discipline and all of those sort of principles in working. MetaTech. You've talked about working so super hard and round the clock, etc. That's what it takes. You don't develop business as an entrepreneur with team of hundreds from day one. You build towards that, and so thanks for shouting out Vanti's flowers there as well, because I think that's important. It does take a lot of effort and time, and to get there, then that should definitely be celebrated for sure. MetaTech, what about you? I mean, you've clearly got a remit where you're connecting the real world with the metaverse. Share a couple of examples where you've kind of seen a true success in doing that.
Sure. I think one of the most, we have a couple. I mean, we have a radio station where we have a show called Tech Talks Tech. We invite guests on who are doing things in the metaverse to give that some exposure. We invite you on the show. If you're interested in coming on the show, you let us know. And we give you exposure because not many people know what's going on up in here, but how important it might be in their life in the upcoming future. So we like to bring people in, let them understand what's going on, whether they're creating fashion, whether they're building things, or whether they're coding things. Whatever you're doing in the metaverse, come and tell your story. It's not only people who are building. There's business people who are here. There's accountants. There's legal advisors. There's all kinds of things.
Yeah, it's a cross industry space. Absolutely.
Correct. It is. So we like to give the exposure through the radio station. That's one of the ways that we're bridging that gap. Another way that we're bridging the gap is we're like you said, there's a lot of emerging technologies, and we work with a studio down in Yonkers, New York, and it's a major motion picture studio, and we're showing them how some metaverse technologies can be integrated into things like hologram technology and different types of technology. My associate here, Taz, he was actually an intern there at one point, but actually he ended up running the stage. He became so proficient that he could basically run any stage right now, any hologram stage. And that was also part of a program, a youth mentorship program, teach VR, AR, XR, hologram technology for underprivileged youth that come in from the surrounding boroughs. There's also an association with the educational system where they're going to start integrating more VR into their curriculum. I actually had an opportunity to speak with one of the commissioners of education and present the idea of having VR more in school at maybe some of the tech schools, just a pilot program so they can have an understanding. And I showed to them maybe how could it solve some of their pain points with education, because especially during COVID, one of the things that he had said was that some kids didn't want to even get online with their laptops. They also wanted to be kind of private, and sometimes they wouldn't even show up to classes and stuff like that. So I said, imagine if you had some headsets. We were sitting here in the metaverse, and I said, you saw how you just turned your head? You really thought I was to your left.
That's right.
Imagine if you had this during COVID and how much pain points that could have solved. So they're very much on board with that. So that's a link right there. An important
digital
link,
twin, essentially, isn't it? You can create those digital twins.
Correct. One teacher could have came and taught, 100 kids one shot, and could have got their whole workload done in a day.
Because that was another one of the challenges as well, MedTech. The fact that, of course, people were out because of health concerns, etc., and the teachers couldn't really cover the volume of students. But in this space, you could, right?
They could not, and a lot of the kids. For one of the problems that was mentioned to me is some children, they had other things going on in the home at the time that they weren't so happy about or whatever. And they felt, if they were on camera and stuff, it was not that they did not want to go to school. It's just that they preferred to be more private with some other things that were personal to them at the time.
Of course.
So they were missing a lot of class. He said, this wouldn't matter. You just put it on your face and
that's right.
And there you go.
So
we're involved in things like that. We've had students come, they come to the studio and they come in there like by school bus load sometimes. Up to, I think the most we've had at one shot was maybe like 150 or 170. Wow. I don't remember what it was. But they come in, we show them the different things that are going on in the studio. There's actually a school being built that's going to be integrating all of these different technologies in the near future. So that should be done probably by the end of 2025,
fabulous. That is a proper real life case study, right? And at scale as well. So I think that's super amazing. I mean, this is one of the challenges I do find. So my sister happens to be a computer sciences teacher, and one of the things that I do always have the conversation with her on is exactly this idea of curriculum. Computing curriculum right now does not talk to emerging technologies enough whatsoever. I think it generally needs to. It's not almost sort of like an optional thing, because the way things are moving, the future of it all, etc. Really, what we are doing, injustice to our young generation by not giving those skills earlier on and those understanding, and when they go into sort of tomorrow's job markets, like we've talked about, the talent pool will look very different. We're not equipping them with the right skill set right now. So I think that's such an important part that you're playing with all of that.
And the problem is this: if we did equip, look, I don't know the ages of everybody in this room, but we are not 12 or 13. But I guarantee that if they taught more of these emerging technologies in the schools, as a whole, we would be better, because when you're 12 and 13, your mind is still wide open. You pick up on things
like a sponge,
a lot faster. It's like barren land to mold yourself into whatever direction you want to go. Absolutely. So you start introducing these technologies. Just imagine where they'll be when they're our age. I had some kids come in one day, and I said, "Look, when I was much younger, Atari was my thing.
I remember Atari days.
We're talking about in the 80s. So Atari was my thing, and it was the most awesome thing. And I'd sit there and play Atari for like 8 hours. It was some stick figure.
The best thing ever, really, at the time.
Yes. But I said to the kids, I was like, look, you see all this stuff you have here. This is awesome technology. You look like you're in a spaceship right now. I said, but this is your Atari right now. This is your Atari. So when you become my age, imagine what you could do if you progress from here on, and just put your mind to it. And basically, I can't agree with you more that kids need to be exposed to this.
So important. So important.
That's what I kind of like about like the kids of this space. Like, I've met a phenomenal handful of kids that would pop into my worlds and ask me questions. Shout out to Kaya and Power Duck. Kaya's learning how to build, and I'm teaching her how to build and stuff like that as a mentor.
Amazing.
Because she has that entrepreneur mindset of understanding what she wants in her future. Power Duck, on the other hand, he is so quiet. And one day he came up to me and a group of people, and he was like, "Can you teach me how to build?" So I did. And next thing you know, he went to school, and then he comes back. I haven't seen him in a while because of school. He comes back. He was like, "Jay, I just finished a script." And I'm like, wow. "Oh, what's the script?" And then he showed me. It was more than I could ever done. And I'm just like, oh, amazing. My gosh. So shout out to you, MetaTech, for at least enlightening these kids and showing them that there's another revenue and an avenue to enhance their skills to like when they're older and stuff like that. So kudos to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Absolutely,
and I'm gonna be honest, I get as much out of it as they do because I like to see when they like you could see when sometimes when they did come in, we're like you'll see the spark, you know, you know, and that's the good part of it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. In the beginning, I was more about the revenue, okay, but that side of it, seeing that has become more rewarding. Like you can almost like immortalize yourself as a teacher, or if you have some knowledge to share with somebody of this age, because you're pouring it into someone else. You know, and if you're going to better somebody else by
that's
at
so
least,
rewarding.
I'm not saying I
isn't
know
it?
everything because we all don't know everything, but if you can help somebody have an understanding of some things they don't know, and they can take it and do something better with it.
But we all have a part to play in it, right? And
more
I think
power
that's
to 'em.
really, really important. Each one of us, even if that's just mentoring one person on one aspect of something, really what we're passing on is hopefully those entrepreneurial genes. You know, in not a bio way, because that's really important. Because, like you've said, Vanessa, you know, that skill set. If someone is natural at being an entrepreneur, but actually you can help them learn something new that helps them with that, you know, that can go a long way. That and you've said, MedTech, you know, about initially it was about revenue, but it's got to be as well. You've got to get, you know, financials is a huge part of being a successful entrepreneur. So you have to pay the right due attention to all of that too. But you're right. Then you hopefully get to a space where you feel you can give something back as well. And you kind of, you know, do some of these outreach work and community work and grow the next generation of entrepreneurs essentially with the right skill sets. And I think that's part of being a successful entrepreneur, is to be able to see what does that succession planning looks like for our future generations as well. Awesome. Look, this has been an absolutely fantastic conversation so far. How is my audience feeling? Are we enjoying this? Amazing. Fabulous. Look, let's turn to some fun questions. I have got one final question for you all, but before we do that, let's just turn to some fun questions. I'm going to come to you first, Vanity. If you were to describe yourself, your entrepreneur style in one word, what would that be?
Outlandish, I would say. It's like a chaotic mess that becomes into a beautiful creation. Joy, you laugh because she knows it's right. Joy knows it's right.
So accurate.
Because Joy, she's been in some of my builds that are not published yet, and she's seen the mess that turned into a big creation. So
I love it. I love it. And I also love the honesty. I mean, that has also got to play a part in being a successful entrepreneur. So well done, Vanity. Joy, if you could launch any business without any boundaries, no barriers, no nothing, in real world or here in virtual world, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. What business? Outlandish business? Oh, I have no idea, because I'm and the reason why I say that is because I'm driven into what I'm doing right now, so I can't even think about what I'm doing.
That means you're already doing it. That means you're already doing it.
I can't think of anything else doing what I'm doing now. So
awesome. Love it. I mean, that is fabulous to be able to do something that you enjoy and that is what you want to do every day. I think that is, you know, you've absolutely cracked it then, you know, Joy. you know the formula. Amazing. Love it. And MetaTech, if you had to give a TED talk on anything other than business and technology, what would that be?
Ooh. TED talk. Okay. I know. I would probably, I have faith. I have faith. So that would probably be one of them.
That's
my other one, there's two really. And I would like to give people first time home buyer seminars, because there's a lot of people. Yeah. I help a lot of people get houses, to be honest with you.
Awesome.
And that being said, there's so many people out there who want houses and feel like they can't get them.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's not the case. There's a way. And I would like to, at some point I had considered that, building a space and having, you know, a real
I was thinking that could be another addition to the portfolio almost there as well.
I had considered it. It. You know, I'm annoyingly persistent, so people get what they want.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. Let me come to my final question. Look, you know, being an entrepreneur, your mind is always full of ideas and creativity, etc., right? But also, it's really important to create solutions for market that are sustainable in terms of the venture. So, what advice would you offer for those trying to balance creativity with financial sustainability as an entrepreneur? Joy, I'm going to come to you first.
Don't go so big. Like, how could I say it? It's a saying that says, you have like beer money purse, but you have champagne taste or something like that. Like, you have to make sure that you're building reasonable things and don't put yourself into debt and all that. So make sure that you do it step by step, because sometimes you have this huge idea, but the finances aren't there. And so you do what you can do until you get it to where you want it to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely love that. So my mantra is think big, start small, and then you build on that. Absolutely brilliant. Vanity, what about yourself? What would you advise?
Invest in the things and the equipment that will at least get you 50% there. Like Joy said, you can have a beer budget, but then a champagne taste, you know? At the end of the day, you're still going to get to your goal. It may take some time, but just know if you persevere, buckle down, and have your vision clear, everything else will fall into place. So you can upgrade your equipment or upgrade your studio or add on to your brand and company.
Yeah. And also know when to stop, right? And pivot. Because I think that's really important as well. Yeah.
Yes.
You will get to your goal, but that pathway doesn't have to look exactly the same as what you drew up on day one, right? That can look very different as well. So knowing when to pivot and therefore being agile. I mean, that those that know me well know that I'm a huge fan of agile ways of thinking and agile ways of working. So I think that adds to it as well. What about you, MetaTech? What advice would you give to our audience and listeners today?
Well, I'm really a throw the dice kind of person, to be honest.
Right.
I am. I am. So I would probably be not the right person to answer this, but it's paid off sometimes, and sometimes it hasn't. You know, but if you're that type of individual, make sure that you have fallback situations. Make sure that, you know, if you're ready to throw the dice or take some risks that might be out of your comfort zone, make sure that you can recover from it. I think that's important.
Yeah, know your appetite, basically, for risk, right?
You can mitigate a lot of that risk if you have partners too. You know, especially if they have.
And you can take calculated risks as well. You know, there's an element of that, but your previous experience counts towards that. Your learning counts towards that.
And that's exactly what I mean when I say throw the dice. When I throw the dice, I try to look at all the dots, and if it's even feasible that they might connect. You know, maybe not impossible, but it's probable. And those are the kind of risks that you should probably take. Like, you know, it's cliche, but what they say, if you don't take risks, you're going to stay inside your comfort zone, and you might be the best ever at something, but at some point you have to step out of your comfort zone to find out.
That's the only way you would grow, right? If you stay in your comfort zone, that's not where the learning is. That's not where the growth is. That's not where creativity or innovation is. So, you know,
and sometimes failure is good.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. You know, as long as you've taken learning from it, right? I think that's really important. 100%. Yeah.
And then also surround yourself with people who will tell you the truth. You know, and not just what you want to hear.
I got a lot of those who tell me the truth all the time.
Good. But look, I actually do talk about your support ecosystem. Yeah, I do talk about support ecosystem when I coach, both life coaching and business coaching. And the idea of, you know, in your support ecosystem, you should have a coach, you should have mentors, you should have your supporters, you should have your truth tellers. And that's exactly what it is, you know. And truth teller is not someone who just come and kind of go, oh, you're awful. That's not the idea. Or why would you even think about doing this? That's not the idea. It's kind of, you know, being able to give you a critical review of something in a very honest
way. I have an example of that too.
You got to be able to take it. You know, if somebody's going to tell you something that they might see from the outside,
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and
because
and
sometimes you can be blind to it, right? Because you've
correct.
been kind of in it and you're in that bubble and it's difficult for you to see. Vanessa, did you say you've got an example you want to
I
share?
do have an example. Joy here is a perfect example of seeing my growth on that end because
Mhm.
I've went through, like I said, I went through many development changes in my career
Mhm.
path in here and outside of the metaverse. And
Mhm.
every time I follow up with her, she sees the potential and she sees what I'm trying
Yeah.
to reach without
Yeah.
outreaching and overstepping boundaries. Because to me,
Mhm.
Joy doesn't know this and Jay doesn't know this either. They're basically like mentors to me on the spiritual side. Every
Mhm.
time I reach out to these two, like there's always light and there's always joy, hence her name, JoyReign, you know?
Mhm.
So from
It
there,
could not be more perfect. Yeah.
right. So from there, I really hone in on their skills and their mindset because every time I'm doubting myself, I reach out to them and they're like,
Yeah.
Vanity, calm it down. This is A, B,
You
and
got
C.
this.
You got this, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what an entrepreneur needs now and for our future entrepreneurs is knowing that you have someone in your corner and that
Yeah.
your vision is your vision and no one can take that
Yes.
from
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
That is
And
true.
sometimes
Yeah.
getting to that vision can take a bit of a time, especially if you are truly an entrepreneur, because your entrepreneur's mind can be quite chaotic because there's a lot of sort of different ideas floating around, creativity going in and out.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
you're scaling, you're descaling, you're investing, there's a lot going on in there. So actually having someone like that to support you with sort of, even support with clarity around some of the vision or ideas is really, really important. So yeah, a huge part for sort of, those support ecosystems to play in success of entrepreneurs for sure. Awesome. Well, look, thank you so much for being here tonight. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I hope you've enjoyed being part of the Viva Talk as well. And
Great.
and the
Thank you.
audience have been absolutely amazing as well. Thank you so much for being here. Look, November is the final month of the Viva Coach Experience 2024 program, and we literally are finishing with a bang. The entrepreneurship is something that we've kind of, worked towards throughout the last so many months. And the panel today has been absolutely amazing. So can I please ask you all to throw a huge amount of confetti in the air for JoyReign? Thank you for JayVanity and for MetaTech. It's been so awesome. Now, give me 1 second because my headset, I think, needs some love, which is basically some juice and some charging. So give me 1 quick second while I give it that.
Okay.
There we go. Hopefully that is starting to charge it up a little bit. Yes, and I just want to kind of share some final thoughts with my audience today as well. So look, remember that entrepreneurship is about embracing your own journey. Joy touched on this earlier as well. We talked through this. It's about learning. We talked about failing and growing at every turn. The path won't always be clear, but with determination and creativity and courage to try, there are no limits to what you actually can achieve. So please do go for your dreams. Go for those ideas that have been bubbling in your head, the creativity juices that have been flowing. Absolutely reach out for them, but do that with calculated risk that we've just talked about today as well. And look, if tonight's conversation has sparked something in you, I encourage you to join me for my upcoming entrepreneurship masterclass on November 20th. There, I will go deeper into actionable strategies to help you launch and grow your business. And for those ready for more personalized approach, I do also offer one-on-one business coaching sessions as well, and they're absolutely available. So let's make 2025 year of growth and success for you all. Thank you so very much for being here today. And please do jump onto this stage. We'll take a photo before we leave tonight. Once again, thank you so much. And this is good night from the Viva Coach. Thank you.
Thank you.